In this documentary, I will be identifying and evaluating factors that lead to gender inequality in sport and how these factors have a negative impact towards female participation towards sport. Well, gender describes characteristics that society or culture portrays as masculine or feminine. Your gender role as a man or a woman in society can differ across cultures, and there is a significant difference when it comes to gender equality in sport. By this, I mean inequality towards females in sport. To highlight the discrimination and inequality towards women in sport, I want to show you one of Nike's countless attempts to rectify the issue via a 2019 advert they published. Here it is.
If we show emotion, we're called dramatic. If we want to play against men, we're nuts. And if we dream of equal opportunity, delusional. When we're too good, there's something wrong with us. But a woman running a marathon was crazy.
Officials tried to pull her off the course.
A woman dunking? Crazy. Coaching an NBA team? Crazy. Winning 23 Grand Slams, having a baby, and then coming back for more? Crazy, crazy, crazy. So if they want to call you crazy, fine. Show them what crazy can do.
Some may just classify this advert as Nike's attempt to boost the women's sales revenue for their sportswear. However, there's an indefinite deeper meaning behind this advert. This advert highlights the issue and purpose behind this documentary. However, if you didn't catch it, I would explain to you right now. Women face sport discrimination and equality from all angles. This makes women more adverse to want to participate in sport. However, Nike are attempting to empower women, telling them forget what any other people say or think about them, they can do it. I am a guy, so sport discrimination doesn't really directly affect me. However, indirectly, I feel it's an outrage because I don't want my nieces, little cousins, or even future daughters to feel that they can't participate or compete at a high or higher level than males due to the gender. Nevertheless, you may be thinking to yourself, so when did this sport discrimination towards women actually occur? In order to find out, we need to first dive into the background of sport, more specifically, the first modern Olympic Games. Let's find out. While the first modern Olympic Games came about in 1896, also the exact same time the civil rights movement started, and obviously aimed to bring forth full civil rights and equality under the law. Therefore, there's no coincidence in these timings when the founder of the Olympic Games himself in 1896, Baron Pierre de Coubertin, stated, no matter how tough a sportswoman may be, her organism is not cut out to sustain certain shocks. Such an influential person in sport history stating these preposterous statements, some may say blatantly degrading females, creates this international propaganda perspective towards females being more inferior to males when it comes to sport. Due to this fact, this is most likely the reason why the first woman to compete was actually 4 years later. The first woman, Hélène de Putain of Switzerland, became the first female Olympic champion as she won the exact same year in a 2-to-1 ton sailing event. Therefore, Baron Pierre de Coubertin's statement is false propaganda and simply was incorrect, because obviously women can compete under any circumstance just like a male can. So how was sport and PE like growing up for you as a young girl?
Wow, it was like a negative thing. Like,
Yeah.
girls used to get mocked for liking PE, and they used to get called tomboys.
Wow. So they used to be like the weird girls or something.
Yeah, like you were manly if you were liking PE.
So can you tell me a bit more about it?
So I would be judged if I wanted to play football by boys and girls. So guys would say that you can't play because you're a girl, You're meant to be cheering for us instead, not
Yeah.
playing because you're weak. And it's always been tough for me because I actually like playing sports. I like fitness stuff, and I
Yeah.
like playing football and like basketball. I enjoy it, so it was like a bit of a shock. And because there's no sport role models for
True.
women out there, I just kind of stopped focusing on sports and followed the crowd into like fashion and like makeup, just because there was no social influences that actually do all of that.
Okay. One key thing that actually really stood out to me throughout that interview was when Claudia stated that growing up, girls used to get ridiculed and outcasted and made fun of if they actually enjoyed PE. However, this links perfectly into a theory called the social learning theory by Albert Bandura, as he believes there's three factors that lead to human behavior, and he believes that people learn behavior through observations of others and then impersonate what they have observed. As you can see, environmental factors state social norms. So in layman's terms, what a certain generation, or in this case gender, finds quote unquote cool to do, and the influences that other people have on them. Claudia states that girls will be outcasted if they like PE, so obviously you're gonna not do that in order to fit the social norm. There's cognitive factors, which expectations and attitudes. So girls should like beauty and fashion rather than sport because it seemed to be more feminine. And behavioural factor, you practice what you preach. Another factor Claudia did bring up was not having any sports role models to follow and view. Just like the social learning theory, this is another key aspect making girls and women more adverse to want to participate in sport. This key aspect falls under the topic of media coverage for women in sport and equal pay. In order to highlight both issues, I want to show you a broadcast by Fox News. Have a look.
But it's still nowhere near the Men's Cup in terms of world popularity. According to FIFA, the 2011 Women's World Cup had an audience reach of less than 250 million viewers. Now, that was around the world. For the Men's World Cup in 2010, the figure was 2.2 billion around the world. That same year, the Men's World Cup generated nearly 3.7 billion in revenue, while the Women's World Cup generated about 73 million. The differences in its men's and women's prizes are actually less than the differences in its revenues from the two competitions. Market forces rather than sexism appear to explain the pay gap in soccer.
All right, well, the Matildas Soccer World Cup win against Brazil pushed women's sport into the headlines, but it's definitely not reflected in their earnings. Each Matilda was paid just $500 in match fees. Compare that to the $7,500 their male counterparts would have received. Now, if they make it to the final, the girls will get $5,500 each. The blokes will get $69,000
Each!
In 2018, Insure for Sport conducted a national survey focusing on attitudes towards women in sport. Take a look at this gender pay scale. The prize money received by an average male footballer is nearly 40 times higher than the female counterpart. This is definitely a reason why women have been more adverse to participate in sport, because there's rarely any money involved, then women will be less intrinsically motivated. Also, the survey found that people view male sporting events more than female sporting events. The main reason behind this was the lack of television coverage, which would lead to a lack in women participation, considering that less exposure leads to less sponsorship deals, which impact athletes' earnings. There are a few new campaigns that have been launched in order to combat this issue and promote women's sport participation. Both of these campaigns are funded by Sport England. Their campaigns are This Girl Can and Active Women. Both campaigns aim to engage women and girls of all ages to participate in sport, running active leisure activities and sporting activities for them to join. The Welsh Government are also attempting to combat this issue. Have a look at the Welsh BBC article in 2018. To round things up, gender equality and women's sports participation is not going to change overnight, but I hope from all these projects and different schemes that they're now running, maybe in the future generation, things can change. But we need to change our mindset and keep applying constant action and never forget this issue in order for there to be a result and in order for participation to arise.